Hello and welcome. I am Saad and you're watching me on Vidyamandir YouTube channel. We are going to talk about, in this video, we are going to talk about the most talked about bloke on the circuit, and that is PRMO. You know what's PRMO, right? PRMO stands for Pre Regional Mathematical Olympiad. Now, it so happened that it's generating quite a lot of interest and it has gained a lot of traction among students. So we thought that why not tell you the absolute details of the examination so that there is no confusion among students and those who are in a muddled state of mind, whether they should attempt it, they shouldn't attempt it, what kind of questions are asked, and everything regarding the nitty-gritties of the examination. So that I'm going to discuss in this video. So what this video is about, as we said, that video is about pre-PRMO examination, which is Pre-Regional Mathematical Olympiad. So what I'm going to tell you, so let me make a list so that we don't forget, right? First, I'm going to tell you that which agency conducts the examination, then what is the criteria for you to appear, then what kind of examination, the format of examination, how many questions, and so on and so forth. Then we will also see in the same section that what kind of questions, from which branch of mathematics the questions come from. Then we'll see that generally how many people they induct in after first PRMO examination, that is. Then we come to two most interesting sections, that who should attempt this examination, interesting. And the last section, and perhaps the most important, that what we're doing to help you to facilitate your selection in PRMO examination, right? So there is a lot of things to be discussed, but I think that this video is going to be very short. And meanwhile, I'll be sipping my coffee so that my throats don't get dry, right? All right, so to begin with, which agency conducts this examination? So it's conducted by Homi Bhabha Center for Science and Education, which is HBCSE. And it's conducted on the behalf of National Board for Higher Mathematics, right? NBHM. What's Homi Bhabha Center for Science and Education? It's one of the foremost center under TIFR. TIFR is Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. So I'm assuming if some of you folks are interested in pursuing sciences in India, then perhaps some of you will head towards TIFR, which is Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. In fact, I know a few of my friends are stationed at TIFR, and which doesn't mean that I can tell you that what questions they will ask in PRMO and RMO examination. That's not going to happen, right? Okay, so this is the basic fall of it. So this is conducted by, as we said, Homi Bhabha Center for Science and Education on the behalf of National Board of Higher Mathematics, and HBCSE, which is Homi Bhabha Center for Science and Education, is nothing but a branch of TIFR, which is Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. In fact, you can pursue your graduate studies, postgraduate studies at TIFR as well. In fact, at HBCSE as well. So its fundamental aim is to promote enthusiasm among students of high school and undergraduate, to promote science and mathematics, and so as to say the scientific temper among these students. So this is what this exam stands for, and this is what the objective of that center is. Now, coming back to the first fundamental question that plagues a lot of students, and that is that how can one take, or who are those people who can take this examination? It's a fundamental question, right? Must have gone through your mind, went through. It does go through the mind of everyone who has taken this examination or who intends to take this examination. So first entry barrier is age. So you can't be greater than 20 years when you're attempting this examination. So generally it happens that examination is conducted in the first or second week of August, generally. But we are living in very uncertain times and we can't forecast the timings of examination as it stands now, because you know what's plaguing us. Yeah, right. So videos go viral. Is a disease viral? We don't know, but it generally happens that the PRMO is conducted in the first week of August. while taking this PRMO, you shouldn't be more than 20 years of age. So it's more like a disqualifying criteria. So if you're more than 20 years of age, you can't attempt this examination. In fact, if you see, the same goes for IMO. That is International Mathematical Olympiad. You can't be more than 20 years of age and attempt the examination. Anyway, it's designed to promote scientific and mathematical thinking among people who are, so as to say, in their formative years. They are not looking for people who are experienced in technical know-how and in their mathematical knowledge, right? So that's the first thing, that you shouldn't be more than 20 years of age. Then you could be studying in, and I say, and you might like to grab a pen and a paper if you're interested in knowing all these details and jotting them down. So you could be studying in class 8, class 9th, class 10th, or class 11th, or class 12th. So everyone from class 8 to class 12 who is not 20 years of age can take this examination. But there is some more to it, right? So it's just not it. Then there is one more part to it, and that is that you should be an Indian citizen, of course. I mean, if you're listening to me, then I'm not expecting that this video of mine will be heard by people of different nationalities. Why would they be interested in PRMO? But anyway, so being an Indian national helps. This is where it helps, right? Then the last criteria for disqualification is that you shouldn't be a merit holder in the previous year INMO, right? Say that you're attempting in PRMO in 2020, you shouldn't be a merit holder, a merit certificate holder in INMO 2020. So these are the fundamentally four broad criteria on which you can write, or you may be excluded from the ambit of people who will take this examination, right? So what are those criteria? I'll just go through them once again. So what we said, that you must not be 20 years of age. You can be a student, anyone from grade 8 to grade 12. You should be an Indian citizen. You shouldn't be in the merit certificate list of INMO. INMO is Indian National Mathematical Olympiad, held in the same year. So I hope that we are clear about on the selection, or more likely the rejection criteria of the examination, right? Great. So which brings me to the format of examination. So generally it is held in the first week of August, something like that. And what do you expect? Can you expect what kind of questions? What do you expect, and what kind of problems? So you can expect 30 problems, and the time allotted to you would be 3 hours. 30 problems, 3 hours. That's quite a thing, because if you consider that, it so happens that I'm assuming that the crowd which I'm addressing is preponderance of people who are attempting J, right? Or at least you have J in your mind as the prime objective. Of course, private. There is always a comparison in a student's mind between J and PRMO, right? How is it compared to J? How is PRMO compared to J, right? I'll say that, first of all, the examinations are quite different in the mode in which they are conducted. So for example, J contains objective questions, 4 options, right? It doesn't contain objectives. So what it contains is, it contains integer type problem. So your answer could be a single integer, your answer could be integer of 2 digits, right? You have to fill in your answers. J mein aisa nahi hota. J mein you've got only 4 choices, right? So that's about it. However, PRMO could be from 00 to 99. The answer could be any integer. G, what do you expect? Do you expect, even talking about J advanced, there is maybe 1 hour to attempt 17 to 18 questions. Compare this, 3 hours to attempt 30 questions. So I think that 3 hours to attempt 30 questions is comprehensively larger than attempting 17 questions or 18 questions in 1 hour. Right? Now, if you do it correctly, if you mark a question correctly, you get 5 marks for it. So which means that there are a total of 30 questions. I'm hoping you're writing it down. There are a total of 30 questions, 5 marks each. which makes it a total of 150 marks, right? Now, there is one more aspect to this, that the examination is primarily conducted in two languages, English and Hindi. Now, if you're a Hindi speaker, or if you are more comfortable in Hindi, and if you want the question to be given to you in Hindi, right? So then you will have to make it clear at the time of registration that the paper which will be given to you will be in Hindi. तो मैं Hindi speakers के लिए बोलूँ कि अगर आपको ये लगता है कि आप हिंदी में comfortable हैं, हिंदी में एग्जाम देना चाहेंगे, तो आपको registration के वक्त ही declare करना पड़ जाएगा कि आपको ये एग्जाम हिंदी में देना है, right? Not a big deal, but yeah, you have to declare it at the onset. बिल्कुल शुरू में आपको ये declare करके बता दे रहा हूँ. Right, yeah, so that's how it is. So, I mean, again, I realize that the comparison between JEE and PRMO are not, if not absurd, of course, comparisons are not absurd, but they're kind of odious. They are searching that JEE exam hai 1 hour, 18 to 17 questions, right? PRMO exam hai 3 hours, 30 questions. You do it correctly, you get 5 marks. It's a total of 150 marks. But यहाँ पे you don't have the luxury of 4 options. यहाँ पे आपको integer type है. The integer could be a 1-digit integer, it could be a 2-digit integer. So the choices available to you are from 00 to 99, which is 100 choices. आप JEE में कितने ways में question कर सकते हैं? So 2 to the power 4, including a 1 in which you leave the question. 16 ways है अगर आपने छोड़ भी दिया तो. यहाँ पे 101 ways अगर आपने छोड़ भी दिया तो यहाँ पे choices ज़्यादा हो जाएंगे if you like it that way. Anyway, so that's the thing about this examination. Great. Now, this was the mode of examination. Mode of examination, I hope you have understood. So what's the mode of examination? So 30 questions, 3 hours, 5 marks for each question, right? The answer will be integer type. It could be a single digit integer. It could be a double digit integer. The medium of instruction will be English or Hindi. If you're a Hindi speaker, or if you want the question to be served in Hindi, you have to make an additional request at the time of your registration. Great. So this is the second point which I wanted to address now, which brings me to a very interesting third point, that is the ambit of examination. People generally ask me this question, क्या पूछा जाएगा, क्या पूछा जाएगा, क्या पूछा जाएगा? So of course, बहुत कुछ पूछा जा सकता है आपसे, but there are a few topics which, so again, I'll compare this with JEE. I realize that यहाँ पे जो आप लोग बैठे हैं, वो most probably that you think vis-a-vis JEE कि यार JEE से क्या करें? मतलब JEE से कैसे, मतलब क्या इसको करने से JEE में help मिलेगा? इसको करने से JEE का syllabus और इसका syllabus कितना common है, right? So first of all, there is no concrete answer. There are commonalities, कुछ common है. But there are a few stark differences, कुछ अलग-अलग चीजें भी हैं. So I can't just say that, of course, the PRMO examination is designed in such a way that its preparation will eventually help you in cracking JEE. That would be an exaggeration to say. But अगर आप PRMO examination दे रहे हैं, तो I can for sure say that it will expand the ambit of your imagination, which will help you in JEE, which is not the same as saying that they share a syllabus. So coming to a PRMO's syllabus, so what kind of questions do they generally ask? Algebra. Algebra पूछते हैं. अब algebra तो JEE में भी, right? Theory of equations, complex numbers, binomial theorem, and things like that. Equations in general. Right? ये तो algebra आपके JEE में भी है, ये algebra आपके PRMO में भी है. So this is one of the parts where algebra is quite common with JEE, right? And in fact, I'll go ahead and stick my neck out. I realize that my neck is already out in this collared t-shirt here. But I'll stick my neck out and say that the kind of problems that they ask in JEE and PRMO, at least as far as algebra is concerned, are quite similar. Quite similar. Sequence and series की problem आप देख लीजिए, telescopic sum की problems देख लीजिए. See problems pertaining to AP, GP, and HP. See problems pertaining to AM, GM, HM inequalities. See problems pertaining to complex numbers. See problems pertaining to theory of equation, which means quadratic equation, or maybe cubic equation, or maybe higher degree polynomial. So the kind of problems that they have asked in JEE are the kind of problems that PRMO asks in its examination. So algebra is a lot common. Algebra is बहुत सारा common. Then we come to combinatorics. Combinatorics means permutations and combinations. Right? Combinatorics, may I say that the kind of questions that they ask is again quite similar to the kind of questions that they ask at PRMO. So यहाँ भी बहुत सारी similarities है. And no, at least as far as PRMO is concerned, they don't really ask you so as to say sophisticated question which might involve you exploring intricate ideas to be able to solve problems. ऐसा generally होता नहीं है कि आपको मुश्किल कुछ ideas लगाने पड़े. Generally, it's fundamentally a fundamental principle of counting, multiplication or addition. Of course, there are a few problems which will require you to invoke NCHOOSR and NPR. वो सब करना पड़ेगा. NCR, NCHOOSR or NPR ये सब करना पड़ेगा. Yes, but I haven't seen till date a problem maybe जो आ गई हो like principle of inclusion exclusion or recurrences पे. Not at least in PRMO. PRMO में तो नहीं. So in fact, I'll say that if you study for PRMO and combinatorics part, you will realize that you're also solving problems for J. So all those students who are looking for intersection between PRMO and J, there is one more cake, at least one more slice of cake to be had, and that is combinatorics. So the kind of problems that they ask at J in J is very much similar to the kind of problems that they ask in PRMO. Great. So when we are done with this, then comes number theory. Now, number theory is something that we don't explicitly teach in J, right? Number theory nahi padhate in J. But at this stage, I'll say that the kind of number theory which they ask in PRM examinations is very elementary. If you leave a problem or two aside, मतलब आप एक दो problems को छोड़ दे, like 2019 when they asked the problem pertaining to Carmichael numbers. If we leave aside that problem, वो Carmichael number वाली problem छोड़ दे. I think the kind of problems that they ask in number theory are very elementary. Like you should know what GCD is, what LCM is, right? What the basic operation of numbers are, divisibility criteria, remainder kya aayega, and things like that. Or you should be able to apply them. Aapko apply karna chahiye. But unfortunately, this is the part of problems that we generally don't take up in J these days. It so happens that the J of yesterday years, when I talk about yesterday years, it's quite that J predates my own birth, right? जब J कुछ होता था 80s, 80s में, है ना? तो 80s, 80s के J में they would ask number theory in fact quite explicitly, but nowadays J doesn't ask number theory explicitly. ऐसे कभी-कभी application आ जाती है, हाँ, but ऐसा कुछ नहीं पूछते हैं. तो मैं ये कहूँगा कि PRMO भी ऐसा कुछ नहीं पूछते हैं. The kind of preparation, अगर थोड़ा सा और आपने कर लिया ना, ये भी complete हो जाएगा आपका, right? Is that okay? Great. Now next is are there any more thing? What are the things that are asked in PRMO? So one more thing which is asked and which is completely segregated from J, and this aspect of mathematics is untouched in J, is pure geometry. Pure geometry J में पूछी नहीं जाती. अब क्या करें बताओ? So J में क्या पूछी जाती है? Coordinate geometry. Right? But PRMO में क्या पूछी जा सकती है आपसे? Pure geometry. So pure geometry will be asked in J. My bad. Pure geometry will be asked in PRMO. PRMO में पूछेंगे आपसे. But J में नहीं पूछेंगे. So this is the part. This is the only part, perhaps, where I can say that now there is absolutely no connection between J and PRMO. कोई connection होगा ही नहीं. So yeah, but अगर आप देखें तो जो मैंने आपको 3-4 topics बताए हैं, उसमें से 3 topics common थे और 1 topic common नहीं है. The only topic which is not common is pure geometry. Then there are of course chapters like complex numbers, probability, and things like that. वो सब पूछे जाएंगे, but they are all a part of J. So I don't think that should be a matter of concern for you. So for all those people who think that कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं that who are quite apprehensive about क्यों करे यार, our ultimate aim is to prepare for J, but this is an unnecessary kind of branch in which we don't want to delve into. So my advice to them is that a lot of syllabus of PRMO examination is the same as what they ask in J. And at the top of it, you get to practice a touch better problems. And have you ever participated in athletic endeavors? मैंने बहुत किया. Personal story, right? So I've played a lot of cricket and things like that. So if you have participated in athletic endeavors, so you know that you are trained more rigorously than what you will be tested on. नहीं करते ऐसा. आप coaches को देखिए, that they will prepare their players in a manner which is even more exacting and demanding and rigorous than what is expected of them at an international level. That's how they succeed. So a touch better problem आप कर लेंगे अगर PRMO की, though I think they will be quite, I'm not saying a cakewalk, but still it would be quite a field to walk into, isn't it? Great. So this is about the syllabus of PRMO, right? So if I could say it again, what is it? Principally contained. When I say principally, I mean to say that these are the various branches of mathematics that will be invoked. But there could be a few peripheral problems could be asked from different, which I haven't said explicitly, but which are more or less can be categorized in one of these compartments. So number theory, combinatorics, geometry, and algebra. Okay. Now I come to the important part. How many people qualify for PRMO, right? So first of all, you'll have to attempt this examination now. How do you attempt this examination? I mean, you'll have to attempt this through your own school. School say attempt karna padega, and there is we can't do this. So you'll have to ask your school and get enrolled and take PRM examination on your own. Now, it so generally happens that in one region, so for example, I'm sitting here in Delhi, and most of the people who are listening to me or also believe are sitting in Delhi. So Delhi region will induct about 300 people from 8th to 11th grade. Listen to me carefully. After the test has been conducted, PRMO, that is Pre Regional Mathematics Olympiad, which is the gateway into Regional Mathematics Olympiad, they will induct about 300 people from grade 8 to grade 11. Grade 8 to grade 11, they will induct about 300 people. And they will induct 60 people, 60 people from grade 12. So this is the capacity. This is the capacity that we're dealing with, right? So 300 students from grade 8 to grade 11 and 60 students from grade 12. Do you realize the reason why we were, and if you're familiar with our pedagogy and our teaching methodology, so you'll get to know that it so happens that when we conducted the test, we said that we are segregating a few students for class 12 and a majority of students from 8 to 12. That's because their selection criteria is also skewed. So we were just conforming to their style. Right? Just hum unko copy kar rahe the. Nothing. We were not being partial towards students of grade 8 to 11. Anyway, so, but if you count bhi karenge, to from 8 to 11, there are 4 grades. 4 mein mila ke 300 students, which is about 75 each. Wahan pe 60, which is fine, right? Okay. Now that we know that how many students are going to be selected at PRMO, now I'm going to address the last two and perhaps the most important question about PRMO. Right? So, first question being, that who should all take this examination? Isn't that a difficult question for you to answer? Who should take this examination at all, right? So, of course, I mean, who are eligible? Who are and who should are two different questions. Right? So, who should take this examination? So, I'll ask you, do you have a passion? Do you love thrills? Do you love challenges? Do you want to solve problems? Do you want to solve better problems? Do you want to give your brain a bit of mental exercise? Do you want to stimulate your thinking? Do you want to push yourself against the boundary? Do you want to challenge the limits? Do you want to engage yourself in an intellectual pursuit which eventually might become the focal point of your life? You ask me a question that who should take this. I'm throwing back these questions at you. That do you want to do this? Do you want to pursue something which is interesting? Do you want to pursue which is cerebral? Dimag lagega aapka? Yes. I'm not saying dimag nahi lagega. What I'm not saying is that there is that you have to be extraordinary to crack this examination. You don't have to be. Aisa bilkul nahi. In fact, I believe that most of the competitive examinations in this world don't require you to be extraordinary. They just require you to be diligent, right? मतलब अगर आपको कोई भी examination जो competitive examination है time bound है अगर उसको crack करना है, so my observation, and I could be wrong, but I say this with utmost conviction, that if you were to ask me to choose between two students, one who's extraordinary but erratic, and second who is average but very consistent, so I'd put my money on the student who's average and consistent. So the question is that, do you love the thrill, the challenge, the intellectual stimulation? Do you love all of this? आपको मजा आता है अगर आपके सामने कोई पजल पूछता है तो? आपको मजा आता है अगर आपसे कोई पूछे कि ये यहाँ गया तो उसके लिए एक अच्छी सी स्ट्रैटेजी क्या होगी, राइट? आपको ये मजा आता है कैलकुलेट करने में कि आपके पास एक क्रॉसवर्ड दे दिया गया और यू आर frantically looking for कि इसमें क्या वर्ड फिल किया जाए, इस कॉलम में क्या आएगा, यहाँ पे क्या आएगा, वहाँ पे क्या आएगा? So do these things enthuse you? Do you love challenges? क्या आपको ये सब करने में मजा आता है? Now, अगर आपको मजा आता है ना, तो I'll say that this examination is for you. Now, the one thing which I will actively try to dismantle the notion is that this examination is only meant for students who are extraordinary, which is not. As a bilkul nahi. You have to be very diligent. You have to be very consistent. You have to be thorough in your approach. You have to be extraordinarily cautious. You have to be at it all the times. Karna padega, yes. But I don't think that this is meant for extraordinary students. So pata hai kya? Rather, aap jo aise puch rahe that should I pursue this? Main aapse question puchunga. Ki that, do you think that you have this conviction कि आप बैठ के 1-2 घंटे से problem solve करेंगे? I'm not at all expecting that you are a genius. I'm not at all expecting that you are a Gauss or you're an Euler, you're a Terence Tao. ऐसा नहीं है ना, सब नहीं होते ना. But हम जितने होते हैं ना, I'll tell you something that हम जितने होते हैं ना, और अगर हम मेहनत करें ना, तो हम धीरे-धीरे बहुत अच्छे हो जाते हैं. If not बहुत अच्छे, but बहुत अच्छे तो हो जाते हैं, है ना? और अच्छा भी होना, I don't think कोई बुरी बात है, right? But I'll ask you this very fundamental thing. That's a very fundamental question, right? To all those people who are vacillating in the question that should I take this course, should I not take this course? Kya kare, kya nahi kare? Right? So I'll ask you this question. Do you know the basic of mathematics? क्या आपको class 8, 9, 10 की fundamental mathematics पता है? Like आपको क्या ये पता है कि coefficient ये होता है, polynomial ये होता है, and ये होता है? Okay. Are you willing to devote time to studies without, now this is important, without significantly damaging your prospects at school and coaching, your respective coaching? Because I'm talking to an open audience, so it could be that just not students from Vidyamandir Classes, but students who are not from Vidyamandir Classes might be hearing, and I hope that you're hearing. तो आपको अपने आप से पूछना पड़ेगा कि क्या आप ये जब कर रहे होते हैं, जब ये आप करने का अगर कन्विक्शन लेते हैं, तो आपसे मैं बस 2 क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा. क्या आपको बिल्कुल बेसिक्स पता है? बेसिक्स का मतलब क्या आपको पता है पॉलिनोमियल क्या होता है? अच्छा, क्या आपको पता है कोएफिशिएंट्स क्या होता है? क्या आपको पता है 2 पॉलिनोमियल को प्रोडक्ट कैसे लिखा जाता है? फंडामेंटल चीज है हर चीज की. अच्छा, अगर आपको लगता है पता है, नेक्स्ट आपको लगता है कि आप में पैशन है. पैशन का मतलब पता है क्या होता है? सिंपली ये होता है ना कि टू सिट डाउन एंड स्टडी, टू सिट डाउन for us, for 1 or 2 hours at a stretch, and not to be able to solve problems and still not give up. Right? ऐसा सबकी लाइफ में होता है. And I just can't think that ऐसा कोई होगा जिसकी लाइफ में ऐसा नहीं हुआ होगा कि that वो बैठे हों और उनसे क्वेश्चन ना हुआ हो. I don't think ऐसा कोई है. The only person who couldn't solve, who was able to breeze through all the problems is the person who never solved the problem. अगर आप कोई बोल रहा है ना कि उसने ऐसा कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं जिसमें वो नहीं फंसा, 1 घंटे तक नहीं सोचा या आधे घंटे नहीं सोचा, 15 मिनट्स नहीं सोचा, तो वो एक ऐसे इंसान हो सकता है जिसने कभी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व ही नहीं की, राइट? सो क्या आप वो डिलीजेंस है? क्या आप बैठ सकते हैं? क्या आप प्रॉब्लम अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हैं? क्या आप इंथू के साथ, उसी एनर्जी के साथ उस प्रॉब्लम को अटेम्प्ट किए चले जा सकते हैं, राइट? और मैं बिल्कुल नहीं कह रहा कि आपको बहुत स्मार्ट होने की जरूरत है. Do you have it to follow the teachers which will come? Do you have it to absorb everything which will be said in the class? Do you have it to attempt all the homework that will be given? Do you have it in you to follow the path as subscribed by your mentors? अगर आप में ये सब है, I don't care how much intelligent you are. I don't care if you think you are not, which I think you are. I think that you are made for it, right? और पता है क्या, मैं generally लोगों को ये बोलता हूँ. In fact, I'll tell you something that now that I'm trying to, it's just getting off tangent, right? And how those who teach mathematics can't walk on tangent. ऐसा हो कैसे सकता है, right? And I have often met people who say that they don't love mathematics. मैंने ऐसे बहुत लोगों से मिला. In fact, मैं मिला हूँ biology के लोगों से, who say that I don't love mathematics. In fact, the reason I chose biology was because I hated mathematics. And what I tell them is, I tell them that your capacity to pursue mathematics or your mathematical progress is far greater than what you think of yourself or what your teachers have told you about yourself. आप किसी भी पर्सन से पूछना कि जो कहेगा कि मैथ्स अच्छी नहीं लगती, उनसे पूछना कि पजल सॉल्विंग अच्छी लगती है, so most of the time the person will say yes, maza aata hai usme to, but that's not mathematics. And tell them that that is mathematics. In fact, just that you haven't understood what mathematics is, right? So don't underestimate your mathematical capabilities. बिल्कुल मत करिएगा. Don't think that you're not made for it. Don't think that you have to be extraordinarily brilliant. No. Don't think that you won't make the cut. Just two criteria. One, you should be diligent. Second, you should possess an adequate functional vocabulary of mathematics. अब क्या मतलब हुआ इसका adequate functional vocabulary का? मतलब अगर कोई क्लास में जो आप लोग हैं, let's say, और टीचर बोल रहा है कि यार ये पॉलिनॉमियल है तो ये कोएफिशिएंट x स्क्वायर का कोएफिशिएंट 2 होगा. अब आपको ये तो पता होना चाहिए कि x स्क्वायर का कोएफिशिएंट 2 होगा. अगर आप यहाँ से फॉलो करना शुरू करते हैं, I don't think PRMO is a bad thing to pursue. In fact, I'll tell you something more. As we practice, as we subsequently practice, we get better. I'll take a concrete example. मैं एक बहुत अच्छा सा example लेना, not अच्छा सा, but yeah, it's my favorite example, which I generally take in my classes, right? You know whom I'm going to quote? Do you know that whom I'm going to mention in my story? The great Nobel laureate, Richard Feynman. Right? Richard Feynman was the great physicist. In fact, he was a great mathematician as well. आपको पता है that interesting tidbits that he was brought in Project Manhattan. Project Manhattan means the making of atom bomb. Or since it was a very clandestine mission, chupa mission tha, they weren't told that they were working on an atom bomb. Rather, they were told that it was Project Manhattan. And Richard Feynman was handling all the calculation. Why? Because you can imagine that 1943 and 1944, there were no supercomputers. कोई supercomputer था नहीं. All the calculations which must be done by hand. And Feynman was just excellent at mathematics and that calculation, and therefore he was brought to the project and he was leading that department. Anyway, so Richard Feynman was a great physicist and of course a Nobel laureate. He won a Nobel Prize for his work in quantum physics, which some of you might take up in later part of your life. Shut up, Lengi. So I'll tell you one of very interesting stories and a very interesting morale of the story. So I believe. I took it as a morale of the story. I'm hoping that some of you will. But I can. So he was quite freshly minted Nobel laureate, right? Freshly minted Nobel laureate, Feynman. वो होता है ना कि that if you are a Nobel laureate, in fact, अभी भी होता है ना, आप देखते हो कि someone is a professor. So they visit various universities and they generally present their paper or they present their ideas or the ideas that they have been working on or the insight of science that they have acquired or accrued in this part of their lives. नहीं, अब सोचे कि अगर कोई professor है, वो कोई talk दे रहा है अपने research thesis पे, वो जाते हैं ना अलग-अलग universities visit करते हैं, तो बोलते हैं कि यार ये उनकी सोच है, things like that. So now Feynman in his recollections, मतलब Feynman ने अपने recollections में लिखा that he was talking about quantum physics, and first he went to, of course, California and UCLA. And वहाँ वो गए, and he gave his lecture. And after the lecture, a few students asked a few questions. कुछ students ने उनसे कुछ question पूछा, cross question that is, which was principally based on the lecture that he gave. Feynman writes down in his observation that he had a very hard time answering those questions. जब पहली बार उनसे question पूछा UCLA के students ने, he had a very hard time answering those questions. And in fact, there were a few questions that he couldn't resolve. मतलब ऐसे कुछ questions थे जो वो resolve ही नहीं कर पाए at the first instance. Yeah. Then he went to another university, gave the same talk. Different students asked different problems. But this time he said that, of course, the questions will still be piercing. The question will be about pointed thing. But then he said that piercing, yes, but I thought that I was a bit more comfortable than the previous time. Right. Then he subsequently visited the third. Then he subsequently visited the fourth and the fifth and sixth and so on. If you're fond of principle of mathematics and induction, then Nth University, right? Just kidding. So he visited a few universities subsequently, and he found that he was subsequently at ease at answering new questions being hurled at him. अब उनको लगा कि यार फर्स्ट बार जब मेरे से नया क्वेश्चन पूछा तो बड़ी मुश्किल हुई मुझे, सेकंड बार जब पूछा तो मुश्किल हुई, थर्ड बार जब पूछा तो मतलब मुश्किल हुई, बट उतनी नहीं हुई जितनी पहले दोनों बार हुई, और मतलब कुछ बार के बाद तो मुझे आसान काइंड ऑफ लगने लग रहा है. Then he wrote in his observation that genius is nothing but more practice. Right? That's his observation. कि भाई genius क्या होता है? Genius कुछ भी नहीं होता, just practice. अगर आप practice करते हैं ना एक ही चीज को बार-बार, मतलब it's entirely possible कि आपको आपके टीचर्स ने पढ़ाया, कुछ भी बताया, आपको समझ भी नहीं आया, it's entirely possible. They're dealing with a bit of sophisticated, if not entirely sophisticated stuff. क्या करेंगे फिर आप? अरे आप लेके बैठेंगे उसको, वापस से करेंगे. Right? With practice, we get better. Right? So at this point, I can't hold back myself to quote a personal example. So let me divulge this little personal detail of my life. Right? So at the risk of divulging personal detail of my life. So you know what, for someone like me who dabbles in mathematics day in and day out, at least I would like to believe that I dabble in mathematics. Maths with a dabble kar hi raha hoon, right? So I have never played any musical instrument. मैंने कभी नहीं बजाया. And you know that if you ask someone who's a maestro of mathematics, they will tell you that mathematics and music are connected at hips. Right? बहुत close, intricate connection in maths and music. You will see that many mathematicians are drummer and so on, and they play many other musical instruments. But it so happened that life till now for me has been very busy. So undergrad, then job, then I was pursuing applied mathematics, masters in applied mathematics for some time, and I really didn't have time. But there was somewhere at the back of my mind that I will someday teach myself to play a musical instrument. Now that day has finally arrived, and you know when is that day? That day is today. Abhi tak to I had excuses that I was so busy. It's not that I am not busy. In fact, I'll say that these COVID times are we are far busy than what we were in pre-COVID times, right? This is just my nostalgia speaking, right? Good old pre-COVID days in which I wasn't that busy. But then, says la vie, as the French say that, c'est la vie, which is, that's life. Pehle thoda kam busy tha, whatever that is, whatever life throws at me. Now, it so happens that I told myself that when I'm going to teach myself any musical instrument, and you know what, a violin has just arrived, right? मैंने एक violin ले लिया, just arrived. I don't know what to do with it, but I'm quite determined that with little practice every day, with little reading of notes, with little fidgeting of fingers, with little holding of strings, with little more practice every day, I'm not dreaming to be a consummate violin player at any point in my life, not at all. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to pull off a decent performance someday. Right? And since it's not my vocation, मतलब ये मेरा vocation नहीं है, I will not be able to adequately devote time so that I will learn it fast. ऐसा मैं कर नहीं पाऊंगा, right? Because there is a paucity of time, and there are various aspects of my life which are more urgent and which require more immediate attention. So, but I have convinced myself, and I harbor this firm conviction that the violin lying in the opposite room, there will be someday that I will be playing it very decently, right? And at this stage, my knowledge is absolute zero. मुझे कुछ भी नहीं आता, right? The only thing which I have at this point of time in my life is conviction and a bit of experience that I have done many things myself. That's it. Right? मैं ये भी कर लूँगा. Okay then, so that's that. So coming to that part, so मैं ये कहूँगा कि that if you have that conviction, if you have the basics, और मेरे केस में तो मुझे basics भी नहीं पता music के, but I'm trying nevertheless. But आपके केस में आपको basics पता होने चाहिए. And if you have that conviction, this is the thing for you, right? और ऐसे भी आप अपने कभी सुने एक Italian proverb that shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you will land among stars. Right? तो अगर आप एक difficult exam के लिए shoot कर रहे हैं, अगर आप miss भी कर गए, it's entirely possible that your chances of qualifying the other examination might increase. Who knows? Right? Great. So which brings me to the last section. Now I have given a lot of self-indulgent talk. Now which brings me to last section. What's VMC doing for you guys? Right? Kya kar raha VMC aapke liye? So folks have a very interesting news, and that's from my point of view, from VMC's point of view. I think it's a great initiative from VMC's point of view that we are going to conduct classes for PRMO. हम PRMO के लिए classes conduct करने वाले हैं on YouTube. It will be a live class होगी, and we are going to conduct it twice a week. And since YouTube is an open platform, so all those students who are from maybe from different institutes or who have not subscribed to any institutes, even they can come and enjoy us. Right? So, कब होंगी ये classes? So, I can tell you the tentative plan of these classes. They will be held on Sunday, somewhere during the daytime, because Sunday is an off day. So we are hoping that you will not have any severe engagements which will clash with our class timings. So somewhere in the day, maybe 10, 11, 12, something like that. And sometime on Thursday, prime time, it will be from 9 to 10. Right? So we'll give you 2 classes a week. What are we going to discuss? क्या discuss करने वाले हैं? Everything. Yeah, short answer, everything. Okay, now we'll come to the long answer. Right? क्या हम discuss करने वाले उन classes में? So we are going to take up a lot of stuff. Beginning with, we will take up PRMO problems. We'll take up ideas that are involved. We'll try to take up the theory part, which we think are a bit intricate, or it could be, yes, कुछ होता है ना, that there are a few parts of theory which are a bit slippery in nature, and which might require some more attention from readers' point of view or from students' point of view than students generally give. ऐसा होता है ना, कुछ चीजें होती है ना, like transformation of equation, right? Like maybe remainders, right? Like maybe number theory में कुछ theorems, right? And things like that. तो ये भी हम चीजें पढ़ाने वाले हैं उसमें. Generally the motive will be हम एक problem लेंगे, उस problem के through आपको theory बताने की कोशिश करेंगे. But having said that, हम theory बताएंगे. Right? So there will be 2 classes in a week, one on Sunday, the other on Thursday. It will be live and, like, you know, absolutely free. So like you're living in the good old times and there is manna falling from the skies. It's absolutely free. Manna from heaven. Right? So ये हो रहा होगा आपके साथ. 2 दिन हो रहे होंगे classes. Free है, YouTube पे है, live है, और हम आपको सब कुछ करा देंगे. PRMO की problems, PRMO की theory, PRMO में जो relevant parts हैं, PRMO में जो problems की category आती है, अलग-अलग diverse categories, right? और हम क्या करा रहे होंगे? हम और भी कुछ चीजें करा रहे होंगे जिससे आपके imagination थोड़ा सा increase हो, right? So what do you expect to learn in those classes? What is the best way to extract best out of those classes, right? अच्छा देखिए, 1 hour की class होगी, and we will take up a few problems. It's entirely possible that you will not be able to understand maybe a 1 or 2 problem, or maybe 3 problems which have been taken up in the class. तो आप क्या करेंगे फिर? Then your job is to jot down those problems again, come back to the video, because video तो available होगा आपके पास, play those parts again, and persist with it. तब तक करिए जब तक आपको समझ भी नहीं आ जाए कि क्या बोला जा रहा है. That's a short way, and let me say it with confidence, that's a short way of knowing things, of understanding things, of excelling. और मैं तो कहता हूँ ये किसी भी life hack के लिए valid है. Look, why only this? It's valid for any life hack. आप सोचो ना, you're dealing with any aspect of life. This is what heuristics are, right? A way of teaching. आपने अपने पुराने life experiences से इन life experiences को compare किया, फिर आपने decisions लिए. This is how we learn mathematics. This is how we learn problem solving in real life. So this is what we'll do. So VMC is going to conduct classes twice a week on Wednesdays, not Wednesdays, on Thursdays and Sunday. 1 hour each, problem solving session exclusively dedicated, free for all, exclusively, and it will have all the problems from PRMO, relevant theory, relevant details, and even details which we think are necessary for you to be able to solve problems. So we will kind of try to acquaint you with all the tools which you require in solving a problem, right? So that's what VMC has to offer. Okay, so with this, I conclude this video. I hope you liked it. And if you have liked this video, then you might want to subscribe to our VMC channel, and you might want to like this video as well. And it so happens that you can hear this video again and again so as to extract tidbits of information regarding PRMO examination. And in fact, if I have not erred, then I have told you every little detail about the examination, right? So with this, I'll conclude this session. It was lovely being here. I hope you gained out of this from this session. And always remember, don't give up. Try hard, try harder, fail better, come back again. And remember that VMC is going to provide you with free PRMO classes twice a week. And always remember to subscribe to VMC channel so that you don't miss out on videos like these. So look, I realize that many people are there, and there are many competitive channels that ask you to subscribe, but I'll ask you something on a very, did this video, does this video have an intrinsic worth? Was this video informative? Was this video up to the standards? And if you think the answer to all these questions of any video run by Vidyamandir channel is yes, then I think you should be subscribed to this channel, right? And you can like this video as well. Great, good having you here, folks. Hoping to see you in PRMO classes again, right? Bye-bye. Okay then.